USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts at the Main Street Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street in Blacksburg. Also, letting everybody know, don't forget Rowdy for Robbie. That is continuing this week. It's going to be back in Lot 1, back at spot 164 again. Game day, don't quite have the time yet. I would assume probably sometime between 10 and 11, but definitely check that out. Also at Main Street Pharmacy, you can purchase there. They are $7 at the pharmacy, only Venmo on game day in Lot 1. Cash and Venmo accepted. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this wonderful winning Tuesday?
I tell you, recording a pod after a win is a whole lot more fun, man.
Everything's more fun. Waking up, going to work, seeing your kids, seeing your wife after a win, so much better. Just got a whole better attitude towards the world.
Yeah, it feels good to watch a competent football team, that's for sure.
It does feel good to watch a competent football team, and that was a good thing on Saturday night as the Hokies win 36-17 over ODU. We've got a lot to talk about. We are going to unlock that game in a new segment this year to the podcast. But before we jump on that, and then before we actually get to know the enemy Purdue, we're going to just have talk about a couple news and notes that have broken over the last week since we last talked. And it came out Friday, but they did not do the Friday end of day dump. They actually did it early in the morning. The expansion vote for the ACC finally passed. Stanford, SMU, and Cal are now finally members. Just real quick, Shelton, what's your initial take on this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had to get one of the votes to flip in order to make this move happen. That turned out to be NC State, who kind of bucked with away from UNC in making that decision. You know, it's an interesting move. Obviously, you add, two schools with good Olympic sports in Cal and Stanford. And then obviously SMU, who I think has a burgeoning program, lots of big money in that program with their boosters. Overall, I don't know if it does a ton for the league. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's more of like a, kind of a plan C move because they just, they didn't really have the offseason they wanted to relative to the Big 12 and the SEC. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to make of it really. I think it's just kind of the way the summer's been gone. I guess they wanted to just, add someone, bring some type of juice to the league. But yeah, it wasn't a thing where I'm like, yeah, this is super exciting. It just kind of is what it is.
Tally?
A couple of different things, I guess. Number one, if you're going to grab them, why not just go ahead and grab, Oregon State and I think Washington State. You're already grabbing the other two. Grab them. Let them have somewhere to go to. Oregon State's actually ranked right now. They got DJU out there. Hey, we need all the eyes we can on the ACC right now, if that's what we're going to do. I thought it was a little bit I don't know how they're going to go and what they're going to do. As far as like the SMU thing, they're saying they're going to use, I guess, their campus or places that they have there as a meeting ground for some of the sports and things like that. I guess that makes sense why they would bring them in, but still kind of, don't know much about what we're doing. But, hey, it looks like they're not getting paid for a while. So if we can just make money off them being here for a little bit, shoot, let's do it. Why not?
we rounded up all the Olympic sports and going to Jerry World, and
Why not?
that seems like what the plan is. But I mean, to me, from a big picture standpoint for the ACC, this is a tread water move. This is we had to do something, and like Sheldon said, this was a number C on the choices there. We talked about it a lot. Like, this is probably 2 years late on making a move for expansion. They probably should have circled the wagons when Texas and Oklahoma jumped ships. They should have started having some conversations then. They waited. Then you lose USC and UCLA to the big, and then you still didn't make a move after that. So this is what happens when you drag your feet. You end up kind of getting the scraps, if you will. They're pretty solid scraps in terms of what they bring to the table for sports that aren't football, especially looking at the West Coast teams. But all this does is really kind of bring us back even with the Big 12 in terms of financials. And I don't think that's a long-term sustainable goal, because you're going to lose probably 1 to 3 of the bigger name schools in your conference at some point in the next 10 years, right? So it's just a tread water move to me. We'll see if they can make some other moves between now and then, but it like I said, it looks like it's something that's not really going to come to fruition. It's just going to keep the ACC alive after some of these big dogs kind of leave the conference at some point in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that was the bigger pieces. Is right now, including Notre Dame, they're at 18 teams, and if we've been keep hearing, there's 5 or 6 teams that want to leave. If it's effectively kept above 12, ESPN can't terminate the contract. So now they're at that position where they can't terminate the contract. Tally, you mentioned they ain't getting paid for a long time. SMU is getting nothing for 7+ years. Nothing.
Just happy to be here.
They just happy to be here. But as we know, if you ain't ever seen Pony XS, that's a lunatic bunch down there. I am sure their boosters are going to be stroking some massive freaking checks. If you ain't seen Pony XS, probably one of the best 30 for 30s ever made. Go check that out.
Definitely top 5. Definitely top 5.
Way up there. Also, Stanford
I might
Cal.
watch that again tonight.
Go watch that again tonight. Well, you got work to do, so I mean, why not?
No matter. I got to do something.
Stanford and Cal taking significantly reduced payouts. I think they're only taking 30% up front again. So the money effectively is going into the current conference there. There's talk about how many times you're going to go cross country and things like that. The ACC is picking up, obviously, slam slot games. Why the ESPN wanted to make the move. But this is such a reactionary move, because if you take a look at all the programs that were left out there, especially once Oklahoma and Texas decided to leave, you could have got a potential cream of the crop in the middle of the country and then some solid West Coast teams. Instead, they stuck around, nose in the air. No, we don't need to do that. And the next thing you know, Conference Out West died. The ACC is likely next on the chopping block. Wouldn't shock me. Brian, you say 10 years. Somebody's just going to take a risk and try to get out of the GOR. Somebody's just going to take that risk. Watch. And as somebody stated a couple times, state of Florida is crazy enough. They might be able to go to court and get it completely dissolved. All right, let's talk about this. Some breaking news that we had heard for a while there. It's Nick Gallo's out for the year, which sucks.
Mm-hmm. I hate that for him.
Yeah, 6th-year senior. So, Brian, I'll lead back to you on this. That leaves Benji Gosnell, Daquan Wright, and HSG as your tight ends. What do you think?
They're going to miss the leadership in that room for sure. That's the biggest thing that I think is going to be hurt here. I think from just an overall talent perspective, the 2 guys behind him are very good, very reliable from that standpoint. But it's something to be said for a guy that's seen it all, was in the system last year, took the majority of the snaps last year. You can't really replace that type of experience, especially when the other 2 guys, one didn't get a single snap last year because of injury, and the other was in a reduced role as a true freshman and playing mostly kind of a joker type role in the offense. So that's something that we're going to have to look at, but sucks for him, man. I mean, that's a big blow. and he came back to try to have a better year this year, and unfortunately doesn't get to really be a part of it as we move forward. But we got Gosnell, looked really good in the game against ODU. We saw Wright, he had a couple drops, also came back, made a couple plays in the passing game. So, I mean, we got some ability there. I think from a blocking perspective, Benji showed out pretty good, kind of in the same ballpark with Gallo and from that perspective. So we'll see if he can kind of continue to hone that skill, but definitely a big blow from a leadership perspective.
Yeah, definitely. You don't never want to, discount somebody being hurt in the time they put into the program. So, definitely prayers going out to Nick Gallo. I think he's a captain this year, so I'm sure he'll still be around the team, still, be able to provide that leadership, even though he's not on the field. But I will say with the guys that we do have in now, although we're young, but we're young in a lot of places, seems like we say that a lot. The tight ends that we have are kind of a different mold than him. If you go back and look through like Virginia Tech history of tight ends, Gallo reminded me of like a Ryan Mallett. The tight ends that we have now, Benji's kind of close to Nick, but he's a little bit more athletic. So I don't want to go quite a Bucky type tight end for him. He's just himself. But when you look at like Daquan Wright, he's going to be flanked out wide a lot, more like Bucky was. So I think for the offense, is going to give them some more flexibility of things they can do. But we just got to figure out as far as when we're wanting to block those zones and when we're wanting to, have that two-set tight end close, who's going to be able to block and who's going to go and put a body in front of somebody. So definitely not feeling good about Nick being out, but I think that the pieces that we have some variation there. So,
you got anything on this one, Sheldon? I know this is whispers we've heard for a couple weeks about his knee, and obviously, you don't want to scream it out until it's confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of him as a blocker. He didn't grade out very well. Obviously, the leadership experience is important, and the veteran leadership and all that stuff is important because you're talking about Gosnell and Daquan Wright, who are pretty young players. So we'll see how all that plays out. I mean, the one thing I thought was interesting, I'm trying to pull up the snap count from the Old Dominion game as we speak, if I can get it. But Daquan Wright actually didn't play very much against Old Dominion, and he had at least one drop that I saw, maybe two. So I don't know what's going on with him, honestly. I think Gosnell, I like his physicality, I like his just his motor and his athleticism. I think he's going to be a big piece. We'll see what happens with Wright. Maybe he has a yips sophomore slump. I don't know, but he didn't look quite right in that first game. So I think it's going to be Gosnell for the time being.
Yeah, I know Wright's been battling some injuries. I don't know exactly what injuries he's been battling, but we've heard about him battling injuries and missing practices and things like that. I mean, it may be a little bit down the line, but I'm also going to be excited to see Zeke Winbush, see what they can get out of him. He was very dynamic in high school. I think he played against Highland Springs in one game, and he was, if not the best player on the field, he was close to it. He was a dynamic player. There was a lot of good players on that field. So I'd like to see what he does at tight end. Maybe about a year away. He may get a little bit of time this year, but I'd like to see what he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I know the staff feels good about him, so it's just going to be a matter of getting him into the rotation at some point as we go along through the season to get him some meaningful plays and snaps this season. Hopefully maybe to maintain that red shirt and carry that on to the next year and have him kind of take a next step.
It is one of those things that, since it likely happened in the preseason, something that we have been preparing for, adjusting to, versus 3-4 games in, if Gallo had been doing a good job of solidly blocking, not blocking it out of the water, catching some passes, then you have to really adjust quickly. Where we saw Daquan, you did mention, Sheldon, he did drop a pass, but he did catch a nice little dig route up in the middle of the field for a first down. We saw Benji on that seam route. Brian screamed to me as we were watching it. It's the play from the spring game right there, up the seam, which was awesome to see. All right, real quick, Tally saw a comment that somebody made out here, and he wants to address it. So this is going to be Tally space time before we get into what we want to talk about. So I'm going to pull it up here. Tally, I'm going to let you read it. It's from one of our listeners, Cactus. So go ahead.
Yeah, he was in here early, man. He was in here early putting stuff in. So just wanted to address, I seen, because, again, thank y'all, everybody who's listening. We definitely appreciate y'all. Like, follow, share, all of that good stuff. But what he says here is he said, hey, what's up, fellas? Virginia Tech really drives me crazy. I'm going to be honest. Pry has the personality and mannerisms to be Tech coach, but he just doesn't understand running a Power 5 program. Our players small. All of the whole statement, you can say what you want, but that last piece where it says our players small, if you think our players are small now because of Pry, where have you been the last 10 years, 4 years, 5 years? We were running out 5'10" defensive ends. No disrespect to any of those guys that we had, but we are much bigger than we were in the past. I'm not saying that this team is going to be anything. I don't know what we're going to be, what we're not going to be. I just wanted to address our players are small. I've been screaming this for years. And one thing, so I pay attention to that. So I wanted to bring that up with our players being small. Some of it's just what we have. Some of it's we're going to have to get in the weight room. But some of it is just if you go look at the players that they're recruiting, linebackers, DNs, defensive tackles, they are safeties are much bigger than they have been in the past. So I think Pry's got that going in the right direction with the players being small thing. And then another thing, some of our players that played are freshmen. Like this is their first, they're just now getting on campus for the most part. So they're not even to their peak of where they will be. So I think the progress that he's making is good, and I hope we continue to move forward. It's going to be a big week, so we can see what we got. Good test for us.
Absolutely, we are. And we'll say good evening to LeVar. Says good night, good evening. And yep, it is a work in progress. And it has to be given some time because you can't expect a coach to come right in and what he's given immediately make 6 foot guys turn into 6'3" guys and 220-pound guys to be 260-pound guys. It doesn't happen overnight. So I definitely get that. All right. So told y'all we got a new segment, and we're going to be doing this after every game. And it's something our buddy Coach Robbie Compton and his team sits down and does every Monday. And what we call it is Tell the Truth Tuesday. So tell the truth. And what we're going to be looking for, we're going to be talking about what went well in the game, what went bad, what is something that we did not prepare for. And I'm going to just put that on 2 things. We as fans didn't prepare to see it, and where we feel like our coaching staff didn't prepare to see it. And then finally, what can we do better moving forward? So we're going to do this every Tuesday. And by all means, if you've got something that went well as we're talking about it, bad, not prepared for, or what we got to do better moving forward, put it in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. But let's start with what went well. And me and Brian sitting on the couch, sipping some whiskey on Saturday night. We actually had an identity on offense, y'all. Say what you want to say. We had an identity on offense. And the first thing I'll say I noticed was, is that the same Tyler Bowen in the booth? Because those play calls did not look the same as last year. What do y'all think?
I mean, yeah, it's a lot more zone heavy in the running game, but from a passing game perspective, we weren't as hesitant to throw over the middle of the field, intermediate routes. There was, a little more RPO mixed in there than what we saw last year. So it's kind of what we expected, what we've talked about a lot, but it's nice to see some of that play out actually in a live game and not just hypothetically and not just in a scrimmage that you've watched or a spring game. So good seeing the offense kind of take those steps forward, and, looks like we can sling it around a little bit. So those playmakers are helping.
Yeah, definitely glad that Alec Jennings, man, golly. I mean, he's just explosive, man. Besides being on the field, if you watch like the post-game stuff, like if you've seen how many of his family he had there, that's why you recruit people to come to. That's why you want Virginia players to be at Virginia Tech. Like, I don't know how many tickets his
crazy on
family
the
had.
ACC network after the game. He had like 40 people up there.
Yeah, man, and it's like if they can fill a section by themselves, man, it's gonna be easy to sell the games out. But talking about play calling, like you said, we did have an identity. No matter if we liked the identity or not, if you was watching the game, there was an identity there. I wish they would have got away from it sometimes myself because we were missing stuff, or we just didn't find the holes didn't find the open receiver if he was there, different things like that. But besides that, I mean, we seen two quarterbacks play. May not have been as much or as little as some people like, but they talked about it, and we seen both quarterbacks get in the game. So I was very enthused by what I see. When it's going on, you're sitting on pins and needles, but at the end of the game, 36-17 game, I said 14 points, we win by 19. I'll take it. I will take it all day and tomorrow.
We covered. Sheldon, what about you, man? What do you feel about the play calling? And I'm sure there's other things that you always talk about you saw more of.
Yeah, I thought the passing concepts were fantastic. I mean, they got the ball in space out to the perimeter. They got Wells on some rollouts where Tech's playmakers could make plays. I thought the route combos were good. I love that you mentioned that that fake screen pass that seam right up the middle with Gosnell was fantastic. And they used those screen passes earlier in the game to set up a play like that. So when you talk about situational play calling, you want to use plays to set up plays later in the game. They did that. I thought they had good route combos. They ran option routes that attacked the leverage of the defensive backs, like that first touchdown pass to Jennings, where I think he ran a corner route to the back corner of the end zone.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really good. I mean, the passing team was good. Like you said, they went over the middle, which Bowen's predecessor certainly did not do any of. I thought it was really good overall.
Yeah.
Any.
And it was multiple concepts. You call crossers, you saw some drags, you saw again that right dig to the middle of the field. That is very awkward to see a tight end get up the seam and then just stop, come back. Grant Wells almost took the umpire's head off.
Yeah,
y'all didn't see, like that dude. By the way, quick reaction time for that umpire to get out of the way.
Yeah, he did.
But something else I want to say, and there's a couple comments in here. We'll throw them up in just a second about what went well. Give Grant Wells his due. He was not perfect. And when he came out, he was jacked to the sky. Somebody helped that boy calm down in the first quarter of a game because
he had the crazy eyes, man.
He had the crazy eyes, and he was just missing. And I go back and look, if he's not as amped, Tuden's probably a touchdown. We probably get another first down. The game might have been really more indicative of how it looked. But Tally, give your man some props. Because Tally
everybody knows, man, I'm very critical of any quarterback, but definitely Grant Wells because I've watched him. But when I just said no turnovers, man, I said no unforced turnovers, and he didn't have any.
None.
He protected the ball. The line protected him. I don't think they had a sack. As bad as people talked about our line is, and we didn't do this, and we didn't give up a sack. Well, ODU wasn't good. I don't fucking care if we play in the school of the blind. If they ain't the quarterback, then that's good. It had no sacks. He had no turnovers. Had no interceptions. Hey, I'm good. And like I said, it's a victory because last year was not a victory, and we had 4 interceptions. So that's progress to me. I'll take it.
Yeah, good point by Cobbs here, talking about minimizing penalties and winning the turnover battle. We didn't do that a whole lot last year. We had, and usually we'd either have one, the other, or both. And we had both against ODU last year, where we had a bunch of penalties, we had a bunch of turnovers. Completely flipped the script on that this year. So excited to see that. And just I think overall seeing Grant finally settle in and have he put three good quarters together. That first quarter a little shaky. I think sometimes I think even the Jones swap in there kind of threw his rhythm off a little bit too. So
it seemed a little forced to me.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that. But as far as like what went well, I mean, you said it pass pro was good. Grant had a really good pocket most of the night.
Yeah.
Is that the best pocket he's ever had as a Hokies QB?
I mean,
you watched the game film.
Statistically, yes.
Yeah. I was going to say, pretty from what we've been watching, yes.
Statistically, yes. Go ahead.
They allowed 2 quarterback hurries the entire game.
Damn.
Fewest since Duke in 2021.
And he dropped back, what, like 37
30 times, yep.
30
times, yeah. So that's like, I mean, I don't know what one divided by. That's like 8%.
That's
So
nothing.
That's
you
pretty
tell
good.
me 8% all season, we don't win football games.
I would advise everybody who is a Hokie fan, who is like me, very critical of everything that goes on the team. When you get some free time, go back and rewatch the games and watch the lines. Because I know it's so hard because the camera's going where the ball is. But if you can just watch the line and go back and watch last year's line, even if you just go watch ODU, just go watch the ODU game. That game for this game. It's different. You know, we can talk about, well, it's just ODU. Well, it was just ODU last year, and we lost. So great job by the line just to protect it, man. Great job by the fans, man. The fans got 2 points in there. You know, y'all yelling and screaming and jumping, had him snapping the ball 50 feet over his fucking head. So
I asked
the question on Twitter like maybe a week before the season of who would score the first points. And nobody said fans. Because that was who scored the first points, the fans. It was loud in there, man.
It was loud. And I tell you what, one reason it continued to stay loud was not only scoring points, moving the ball. We talked about it last week. Go hit the quarterback. Brian, we put pressure on them all night. And Sheldon, I'll let you start pulling the data up. But Brian, just watching just the line all night push.
Yeah, I mean, talk about APR, man. He was coming off the edge hot every snap. Every time there was a drop back, he was coming off the edge hot. Yeah. 5 sacks compared to 1 last year. 4 other tackles for loss. I mean, that's solid across the board. APR, good start to his potential 10-sack campaign this year.
In the 10, baby.
Already a 2.
Yeah, already a 2. That's a good start, game 1. I mean, I think the pressure, we've got a pass rush now. Having a pass rush makes the rest of the defense a lot easier. So if we can keep that up against as the competition, slowly ratchets up as we go through September here, it's going to be interesting to see if we can maintain that. But good start out the gate.
What about your BMF tally?
First sack of the year, Burgos. You know.
Yeah.
You looking around, man, and you see people around the quarterback. Just get there. We had a couple of different people getting to the quarterback, and Burgos is a young guy. I think he's a sophomore. He is. He's come in and stole some playing time. He's starting. I would have never said Burgos was going to be the starter, and he goes in. He's got the first sack of the year. I think Panay got him a sack. CJ McCray comes off the bench. He gets a sack.
Yeah.
Like games like that just build some confidence, and it makes the other team have to game plan. That's a couple of things that we didn't have in the past years. We didn't have people game planning for certain linemen. We didn't have people game planning for more than one offensive playmaker. So excited about that.
100%. And you saw it all night. It was all areas of the line that were creating the pressure. And it was when the backups came in. Like you said, McCray got a sack. Panay got a sack. Sheldon, were you able to pull up anything about how much pressures we got throughout the night versus ODU?
Yes. I'm trying to – yeah. So I got it here. So we had 16 total pressures, which includes 5 sacks and 11 quarterback hurries.
Good.
So I don't know.
And they only dropped back like 25 times?
Probably something like that, yeah. Obviously – APR was just a stud, and he can do the bull rush. I mean, he'll just dominate you. So I'm really excited about him. And CJ McCray, I thought he was going to play more than he did. He only played a handful of snaps. Probably only got like 6 passes.
Yeah, I was looking at that too, Sheldon. That threw me off a little bit because he looks good when he gets in. So I don't know. I don't know about that. I think he may be one of those light players. Lights turn on and he shows up.
Yep. And so the numbers Shelton just gave, they dropped back 25 times. That's a 64% that we were getting hurries and then finishing on 30% of those.
Mm-hmm.
If you tell me those are the numbers all year, write it down. I wouldn't back away from that because that's some crazy numbers. And I know their things are going to level out, but just that start. And Tally and Brian, I'm going to let y'all just talk about this before we go to, unfortunately, we got to say what didn't go well. How much confidence do y'all think now those young players have and those guys who didn't experience, wins last year? First time we scored 30 points since, it's been well over 2 years.
If you got on Twitter, people was pissed. We was all pissed. Everybody was on there. Oh, he should have scored more. Oh, we look horrible. Oh, such and such is better. Every game is related to Virginia Tech in Hokie Twitter's eyes. I understand. We got to take a breath, man. If we get a win, if we get a loss, I'm going to be on that edge with you. But if we get a win and we win by 1 point.
3 scores. I got
to slow myself down, man, because I go back, and y'all are going to get tired of me saying it, but this is what I think. You lose by a lot, then you lose by a little. You win by a little, then you win by a lot. If this is the year that we're winning by a little and we start off with a 19-point win, I'll take it. I will take it.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I think this is a good start for the confidence of this young team, which, they are young in a lot of places that matter. Offensive line, linebacker, secondary. We're young in a lot of places, but we've got talent to go with that this year, whereas last year it was mostly just a lot of youth and 6-year guys that didn't see the field a ton those previous 5 years. So it's good to kind of flip that around a little bit and get some confidence early, because I feel like we can kind of carry that momentum here into Purdue, getting home again the very next week. If you can start stacking a couple there together, that'll give you some confidence as you head on the road back-to-back weeks against Rutgers and Marshall, and hopefully carry through September and have a good September and finish.
It's been a long time.
It'd be nice to finish 4-1.
We had a good September.
or 5-0 in September, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's look at Purdue first, but carrying that confidence into Purdue is important.
Yes, it is. Now, let's just be real. Not everything was sunshine and roses Saturday night. We know it, and we'll talk about it. And this is where we go to Tell the Truth Tuesday, what went bad. And I think, and we've already hit on this a little bit. That first quarter was kind of shaky, getting the cobwebs off and getting the rust off. I think what was more important, though, is what happened in the second quarter. They did shake it off. So it was bad. You started slow. I don't think we can start slow in the next 3 weeks, especially. And so the next 3 weeks, we cannot have the slow start like that, or we will be playing from behind. But as much as that was something, Brian, I know you watched the tape and you were screaming all night about linebacker fits and containment. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, backside contain was not very good. We ended up letting quarterbacks sneak out, get leaky in the backfield. We had a couple runs that were cutbacks. One in particular was cut all the way across the field, all the way across the whole damn field. They were trying to set up a double pass. Next thing you know, they still got the first down on the other side of the field. You got to make sure when you're pursuing that you're pursuing with contained leverage, because eventually that's going to come and bite you in the ass. And linebacker fits, some of that had to do with ODU, that ultra spread. They had those stacked receivers in that ultra spread. They had everybody kind of outside the numbers. That spreads you out. I don't think we did a good job of adjusting to that quick enough, but the fits in general were inconsistent. I think we had guys kind of not where they needed to be on a handful of plays. We saw guys start to over pursue. Once the running back had some kind of a couple gasher runs, they started over keying on the running back, over pursuing the play, and that set up some big runs for the quarterback. So got to clean that up, but definitely a fixable thing. But definitely one of the, probably from a defensive standpoint, the kind of the biggest blemish to take away from ODU.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. We had some pretty much like you said. Brian's talking about the linebacker fits and things like that. It's even on some of those plays where we got pressure on the quarterback, he escaped and made a run out of it, and may have got a first down or got 7-8 yards. We got to do a better job of when we're fitting those holes, keeping that outside arm free so we can be in those running lanes to try to slow them down or rip the ball out or something. And I think a lot of new people at new places are just gonna have to learn that on the fly. It sucks that's what football is, but we gotta do a better job of when we do get pressure, and pressure's all around that quarterback. We definitely don't need him to burst out of there and get 10 yards. So fitting and containing and things like that, we got to do a much better job at, because that wasn't good.
Sheldon, hit us up real quick. What were the linebackers? Do you have the linebackers' grades up there?
I do, yes. Basically, just to give you the skinny, Lawson was pretty bad. Keller was pretty bad. Trying to look around here. For guys who got at least a handful of steps, Tisdale was okay, but he was not great on in the run fits. So yeah, that's kind of what it was. And then McCray was a little bit better, but he didn't play very much. And then Will Johnson, they had him a little bit better, which I thought was surprising because I thought he made a couple poor fits there as well. So yeah, and especially with the run defense, it was not great. So, but that's kind of what we saw last year too. Like these guys are still growing, so you figure at some point, hopefully they can kind of stop making those mental mistakes.
Yep. And I think a big part of it now that you say that is now all those guys, because that really was the first time that those guys were working together as a unit, right? It's on tape.
Yeah.
It's on tape. You can sit down. I do have a feeling Coach Pry is going to be going into that room quite a few times this week, have some conversations with people about what's been going on. A couple other things we definitely talked about, not being the best. And again, what are some defensive coaching adjustments? It felt like, especially on those runs, it took us about 3 quarters to finally decide, okay, we're going to adjust to this. Now, when we made the adjustment, them moving the ball was over pretty much for the remainder of the game. Yeah. But Brian, this is Chris Moss' first time. What do you think? Do you think this was just trying to go to the well one too many times, or was it trying to get enough data to decide, okay, we've got to adjust now?
So I'm going to take a little bit of a hedge here. I think Marv saw that he had lost a key piece of his secondary and knew the youth that was behind that and didn't want to shift to what he needed to shift to, which is running a lot more man outside and committing a couple more players into the box to keep the holes a little bit less leaky and being able to get to those fits a little bit easier. But I think he was a little bit hesitant going to that. Like I said, you had Stroman out. Once he was out on that into the first half, maybe he was a little bit hesitant of going to that on a consistent basis. That's when they had some success in the running game there. So once he finally made the adjustment and the clock was kind of against them and they had to go in more passing, I mean, we can just shut it down after that. So if you can get there a little bit quicker, that'd be nice. And like I said, I don't know if the reason is because of those issues with targeting or if it had something else to do with just not wanting to lean on the younger guys as quick.
And some of it too was I think Pry hit on it in the halftime presser or halftime little interview or whatever that he had when he talked about that we were sending pressure, and when you're sending pressure, you're leaving some part of the field open, whether it's for them to run a draw or them to run a pop pass or something. And he was like, hey, I mean, we sending a lot of pressure. I'm gonna have to talk to him about holding up a little bit. So I think that's Marv just he was trying to make something happen. And great job of getting pressure to the quarterback when we got it. But every now and then we need somebody to stay there and spy. We need to, drop back in coverage and things like that. So he's young and he's learning. So I think, like you said, he's probably popping his head in that room a lot this week, especially with who we're playing and what's coming up that we'll talk about.
Yep. And I'm going to hit the gray cat up here because he mentions they are inexperienced, and it did show. But there was some athleticism there because as many gashes as we got, no one ever broke anything over 30 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And there were only 3 explosive runs over 20-plus yards. So, again, it's on tape now. And one last piece of the bad we got to talk about. Brian wanted 5 yards of carry.
I did not.
Sheldon, hold on. Wait a second. Shelton's our data guy. Shelton, did we get 5 yards of carry?
Not even close.
No.
Okay. You could double it, and we barely would get it.
So Brian,
brother was bad.
Just tell me what you saw, and I know. Are we going to do the tape now, or is this going to be later?
We can do the tape.
Got a few clips here, and Brian's going to do some explanation because Brian, were we getting shoved back in our laps?
For the most part, no.
Okay,
I mean, we were at least getting some stalemates, some decent push, I would say, on the front there. The problem was we weren't getting to the second level worth a damn. And we'll talk about that a little bit, but against that 3-man front, that odd front, especially if it's a stacked front, that can be problematic. So, we can look at a couple here. We'll say thank you to Shelton for getting these pulled for us so we can take a look.
All righty, here we go. First clip. There was one of the times.
Yeah, I'm just going to let it run first, and then we can kind of run it back here. So, I mean, just inside zone here. We got 2 problems. Both of those inside linebackers there are going to get in the backfield. You got Benji up there, up at the top with Parker. A little slow getting hip to hip here. Means Parker's a little late coming off. You got a linebacker in the backfield, getting a little hit on the running back. But let's move inside a little bit more. We got Schick and we got Caden Moore at the right guard and center. Bob Schick does not do a good job of trying to take over this nose here. He didn't use his eyes looking at that backer. Comes off a little too quick. That backer's up in there on the play side A, and he's trying to come over the top. He should have pushed Caden off here. Caden should have been picking up that backer there. So both those backers kind of get a free run at the running back here, make a little tackle for loss. Fortunately, only one of a couple tackles for loss in the game here, but that one was pretty ugly. 2 guys, not really 2 sets of combo blocks, not really going off and getting to the second level the way you want to see them.
Yeah, and that linebacker, I think it was 42. He's good.
Yeah,
he's a good linebacker. You got to put a hat on him.
Yeah, and I think this is just guys not communicating and not using their eyes. Something that should get better with time, but not a good effort on this play in particular. Mm-hmm. And we'll go ahead and run the second one here.
Somebody would have just got that guy. Was that the middle linebacker?
Well, you at least you'll get a solid 5-yard gain here if we're watching Bob Schick here. He's going to have a combo on the defensive end down here at the bottom and this backer here. But he takes his own step, but he gets his shoulders turned too much. He doesn't keep them parallel enough with the line of scrimmage, so he kind of loses this backer. Mm-hmm. If he'd have kept his shoulders a little more square, gave his little right hand punch, but he kept his eyes on the backer, he'd be able to see where that guy's going. He wouldn't miss getting that wall. Because if you get that wall and seal on the linebacker here, that's at least a solid 5-yard gain. There's going to be some contact right this level here, and you'll end up getting, like I said, a solid 5-6 yards at least. If you break a tackle, you might end up getting a few more. So
yeah, he's looking third level before he goes second.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. He clears here. He doesn't see anybody. He's finding the next guy to hit. That's what you're supposed to do. But he lost the linebacker that should have been the guy he's sealing off.
Good deal. Thanks, Siegler, for breaking that tape down. Hopefully, some of those things can get corrected before for this Saturday. Excuse me. We'll get into that in just a few seconds.
I'm hoping Bob Schick is not a weekly punching bag.
All righty, Bob.
I'm hoping the quarterback pull a couple of those too, if he
There you
sees
go.
that they in there.
There you go. All right. So the third thing we're going to always talk is what happened that we were not prepared for. And we wrote just two things down on this. I think the first, and Brian's already mentioned it, was the RPO middle rushes from that stack ultra spread. I don't think anybody saw that happening.
No.
Honest to God, don't. If somebody had that outlined out there, please send us the article where somebody said it out loud. I don't think anybody saw
Nobody
that.
watched enough Fordham tape, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think they did that often at Fordham, though.
Nah, they didn't.
They didn't. And then the other one would be the linebacker combinations because, Sheldon, you just mentioned it there a few minutes ago. Will Johnson actually had a significant amount of snaps. And then just kind of looking at it, it wasn't always like Mike Will. Because there is at one point in time, it was him and Lawson on the field at the same time. Which one of those two things were more surprising or y'all didn't expect, Shelton, of those two?
I'll defer to Brian here because I think he would have better insight on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me, it would be the linebacker combinations. I think you expected probably a new wrinkle from ODU. I mean, they're playing an in-state rival, technically a level up in terms of Power 5 versus G5. You knew they're going to pull out something to mess with us schematically because they probably can't match up talent for talent at this point, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So you kind of expected some sort of wrinkle there. I think the linebacker combinations were interesting just because we saw Will in the two deep. We didn't know, there was talk of McDonald being in the two deep. There's a lot of different combinations, but Will being up there was kind of surprising when we looked at the depth chart for week one and him getting that much run. And especially with the combinations, like you said, with Lawson out there with him sometimes. We had Keller and Tisdale on the field at some time. So they mix and match a lot. There wasn't necessarily a defined Mike and Will in terms of that two deep. They definitely rotated guys kind of across the board there in a more interchangeable fashion than I think we anticipated. So it'll be interesting to see if that's something that carries over, if that's just something they were playing around with against ODU as they kind of feel out what they want their final rotation to be.
Tally, what about you?
I just didn't think the quarterback was going to rush for more yards than he passed for, or close to it. I mean,
touche.
Breaking out and getting these runs, and some of them design runs, so that RPO was a little bit unexpected.
All right.
As much as the seeing the different people at linebacker was a little, I don't want to say alarming, but I just didn't know it was going to happen. I definitely didn't expect, their quarterback to be on the run as much as he was and make plays. But thank the Lord that we made enough plays because I don't know what we've been practicing, but everybody was raking at the ball. So when we got a chance, we was getting that ball out of there.
Yes, we did. 2 forced fumbles, 1 interception, and they were putting the head on the ball for those 2 fumbles, which is great to see. But again,
3 forced fumbles.
Huh?
3 forced fumbles. We got on 2.
Oh, okay. 3 forced fumbles. Well, 4 if you count the bad snap, because that's considered a forced fumble in the.
There you go. We'll take that one too.
We'll take that one too. All right, real quick, y'all. Last piece we do is what can we do better moving forward? We're going to be kind of short and sweet with these. Me, straight up, Grant Wells has to keep the ball on RPOs.
Yeah.
Tally pointed it out a couple times. If he keeps a couple RPOs, and again, we don't expect 20 yards. We don't expect 15 yards. Get 3, get 4. Make them be accountable for you. Brian, what do you got?
I'm going to go with the offensive line here. Got to get to the second level. Got to be able to maintain those combos. Keep your eyes where they need to be, and communicate across the board, because I think that's something that was missing a little bit. There was a couple times where guys should have pushed a guy off and didn't. A couple times where they were trying to get to the second level too quick or not at all. So there's just got to be better communication and better consistency in those combo blocks.
Tally?
Quicker coaching adjustments. That first quarter, we was all in hell, purgatory, whatever you want to call it. And then the second quarter, as soon as it starts, Lane catches a touchdown pass, and everybody breathes a little bit. What was that play? We were waiting on that. Let's get that a little bit earlier. That's all I'm gonna say for now.
100%. And Shelton?
Yeah, so I would say offensive line communication in conjunction with play selection. Bashal Tutin forced 10 missed tackles against ODU. He had less than 3 yards per carry. That's not acceptable. He is doing everything he can to try to break that first level, and he can't do it. In conjunction with that, I also think the play selection was a little bit odd. Virginia Tech was very run heavy on first down, but if you look at the numbers, they had 20 first down runs. Only 3 of them were successful. So that's like 15%. I would prefer to see us pass the ball more on first down because I just don't think running is going to get the job done.
All righty. Yes or no answer. Was this the best performance under Brent Pry?
I think you got to go with yes. I mean,
All right.
I think you got to go yes.
Yes? Sheldon?
Yes.
I'm going to say yes, but it's not a enthusiastic yes because I'll say this. Relative to our talent level now compared to last year and relative to ODU's talent level compared to a Liberty last year, I think there's some arguments that could be made that was a better win. But I think this is a win that gives us, I think, more confidence because it is a season opener. And I think we did more things all around well to win that game. But like I said, relative to the talent levels on both sides of the squad, you can make an argument for Liberty. But I'm gonna go yes as well. But again, not as enthusiastic, I think, as the rest of the guys here.
Brian is not following instructions.
He's not following instructions. I'm going to say yes, that is as well, and I'm not going to get into anything else. Real quick, Tally, you mentioned it earlier, but y'all, one of the coolest things was watching ACC Network, seeing Ali Jennings' family up there, and him kind of talking about running through that tunnel. And we Tally, you mentioned it, and we all know about it. That's the kind of kid you want to bring there because they want to be there. They're going to play hard. And he balled out. Damn near had 3 touchdowns, led the team in receptions with 6 for 172 and 2 touchdowns. That was unbelievable to me. That's just something you don't see every day. And I think, he's already on a roll to get 1,000 yards this season. Hopefully he keeps it up versus Purdue. All right, before we get to know the enemy Purdue, we are going to take a quick commercial pause from our digital partners and Main Street Pharmacy.
Brooks Running reminds us that we're all powered by something. Whether it's the me-time energy of a run after a day at the office, the electrifying energy of your first marathon, or the infectious energy of a group run with your friends. No matter what energy powers you, Brooks has gear specifically designed to unleash it. So lace up and let it out. Let's run there. Visit brooksrunning.com today to learn more.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
All righty, and we are back, and we are going to get to know the enemy Purdue, a game all 4 of us will be in attendance for. Brian, myself, and Tally heading down Friday night. Shelton joining us on Saturday. Can't wait to be back in the Berg for this game. But let's talk about Purdue. We're going to talk about the offense first. Talking about this scheme, it's a Graham Harrell air raid attack. So, Brian, give me a little insight. Give the fans a little insight on what we're going to see from Purdue Saturday scheme-wise.
Oh, yeah, you already said it. We got the Graham Harrell air raid. We saw it last year against West Virginia. We're seeing it again this year with Purdue. Like we talked about last year, it's a slightly more vertical version of the air raid. Don't run the ball much or really effectively, at least what we've seen in the first game so far. But they'll occasionally hit a chunk play. And they like to mix in some RPO concepts in the air raid attack here too. So you'll see some RPO concepts mixed in there. But again, it's a typical air raid. They're going to hit you with a lot of short stuff, a lot of crossers, get guys in space and let their athletes kind of make some big plays after the catch.
Yeah, definitely. The first athlete we'll talk about is Deion Burks. He's a wide receiver. Just giving a little bit of a backstory on him or a little bit of information on him. It's listed at about 5'11", 175. As a recruit, he was a 88 on 247, 86 composite ranking, so about a mid three-star level recruit. Last week, he had 4 receptions for 152 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. I think his longest was 84 yards. So take it away, Brian. What you think about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, he's a game breaker if he gets loose in the secondary. He's a guy that you want to make sure doesn't have a whole lot of open space and that you bring him down on first contact. Really good against Fresno, but most of that yardage came on that one big play. There was 3 missed tackles, so he can break some tackles there as well. So
not a huge guy, not
a huge guy, but shifty. Gets away from stuff, keeps his legs churning. So he's a guy that we got to get to the ground as soon as he makes the catch. And they like to isolate him in man looks as well, so they can kind of get him matched up, especially in the red zone. That's what they like to do, is get him in those man looks where he's isolated on one side of the field and can kind of just cook a little bit against man-on-man coverage.
Sheldon, you got anything on him?
Yes, he had 6 forced missed tackles against Fresno State, which for a guy with only 4 receptions in the year is pretty insane. biggest thing with Burks, average depth of target 17 yards. So he's very much their deep ball guy. He's going to be running a lot of deep routes, so I have to make sure you're playing some tight man coverage.
Yep. Tally, you mentioned the 84. His second longest was a 44-yarder.
Yeah.
So he did a lot of damage in 2 plays there.
Right.
And delivering him that damage was Hudson Card. And Hudson Card, the Texas transfer, 6'3", 210, out of Austin, Texas, transferred over. This guy was a pretty high prospect when he came out just a few years ago. Class of 2020, he was a top 60 player, the number 2 dual threat quarterback in the country, 97 composite, 95 on 247. And just kind of taking a look at his track record, at Texas, he played in 12 games where, he played in 12 games last year at Texas where he threw just under 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 TD. Against Fresno, solid game, 17 for 30, 254 and 2 touchdowns. Brian, what are we seeing from Hudson Card here?
We talked about the Graham Harrell offense here, and almost kind of read what seemed like, is in terms of like high school rating and stuff like that, a mirror of what JT Daniels was coming out of high school with. But Card with a little bit more success, I feel like, in the limited time there. He's an accurate thrower of the football. Doesn't take a ton of risk with the football. I mean, that's inherent of the air raid anyway, but he's not going to put it in harm's way very often. He will use his legs if given a lane, but he's not generally looking to take off. He's looking to kind of get those 3-steppers, get the guys in space, and then get a good matchup with Deion Burks down the field when he wants to take a shot. But like most quarterbacks, he can get rattled when pressured consistently, especially if it's coming up in his face there. Like I said, he doesn't really move too much in the pocket there. So if we can get some pressure on him up the middle, I think we can get him a little rattled there. But, solid quarterback. And like I said, really accurate, which, you kind of expect of an air raid type quarterback.
Anything standing out statistical wise, data wise, Shelton, for Hudson, or is it just he is what he is?
Yeah, he kind of is what he is. I mean, last year at Texas, PFF grade around 70, which is a little bit above average. He was around 92nd of 163 qualified quarterbacks, so nothing too special. I will say he did face pressure on 30% of his dropbacks last year, so offensive line's not doing him a ton of favors, obviously, which we'll get into soon.
All righty. Who we got next, Tally?
So we talked about Hudson Card running just a little bit, or not wanting to run a lot. Last week he had 29 yards on 6 carries, 13. His long was about 13. So his running back is Devin Mockleby. He was a low 3-star, 2-star recruit out of Boonville, Indiana. He's about 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. His only offer out of high school was Navy, and he walked on at Purdue. Now he is starting at running back. I think he is a sophomore. Last week, he had 16 carries for 60 yards. His long was 20 yards. He had 1 touchdown. So that is going to be Hudson Card's guy that he's going to be wanting to hand the ball to run.
Yeah, and I mean, you said he's a sophomore, redshirt sophomore, former walk-on. Had a good year last year, 900 yards. Didn't start the year as a starter. Had an injury, got pushed into duty, and held up really well. Obviously struggled out the gate a little bit in this new system. They had a weak and banged up offensive line, so that kind of is what it is. That could carry over this week. We'll see. They had we'll talk about the offensive line, but they had a center that was kind of rotating in and out and all this. So they struggled. He had that one good play, that one good chunk play of 20 yards. Didn't really hit on a whole lot after that. But he's a guy that 6 foot 200. He's a hard guy to bring down. Got to make sure you're wrapping. And he can break off some chunk plays, but he's not a home run hitter. He's not going to hit those like big long ones like a Banakanda or anybody like that. So
Don't ever call that name on this podcast
again. Yeah, we're not going to see that, but he still is the guy that can get to the second level and kind of make a couple guys miss and things like that. But he's not going to be a home run threat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I saw too in my statistical analysis. Looking at the numbers here, he didn't force a ton of missed tackles, but the thing I did notice, he's a big pass catching running back. Last year he had 274 yards as a receiver. So, got to be aware of that. Maybe some swing passes, depending on, kind of how they do it. But definitely a big threat in the pass catching game.
All right. We'll definitely take note of that.
He caught 3 passes last week, too. 3 passes for 16 yards.
Again, that's a little check down, but again, you have to think back. You have to think about him, right? You hear 16, that's not a great number, but you look what he did last year. It's clearly proven success that he can be a positive gainer in that part of the offense. So, getting Jenkins in the flats and, Nasir Peoples and the safeties and stuff have to be accounted for in that. Because to be honest, taking a look at their offensive line, Shelton was dropping grades on me a little while ago, and their best offensive lineman, which was Marcus Mbow, spelled M-B-O-W. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, somebody tell me. A 6'5", 305 offensive lineman out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in Watusa East High School. At 247, he was a 3-star. A lot of offers, though. A lot of offers all over the country, places like Arizona, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Michigan State, even our neighbors to the west of me and Brian here, UVA made his offer. And he roughly was about an 86, one of the top 10 players in Wisconsin. And he graded out, let me go look at it here. Shelton dropped this just a few minutes ago to me at a 70.5 as their right tackle. That was about all they had to write home about when it came to the offensive line. Because when you broke their stuff down, not only as we were watching it here, but as you watched a little extra tape, not great, Bob.
Yeah, I mean, they struggled to establish the run against Fresno. They really couldn't get anything going. Like we said, Mockleby hit that one chunk play. I think there was one other good run by their other running back that got them in the end zone one time. But after that, there wasn't really a whole lot to write home about in the running game. They didn't give up any sacks, but they had a ton of pressures. Made it really hard for Carr to truly settle in and cook against that Fresno State defense. Definitely the biggest weakness on the team. And they played multiple centers, like I was alluding to earlier, against Fresno. I think they had 3 centers play in that game. So that's something to keep an eye on, because rotating 3 centers is not an ideal scenario to have.
No.
No, not at all. Not at all. But to be honest, let's talk about Fresno just a second here. Fresno did return 8 of their 11 starters on the defensive side of the ball. Now, what they were missing, and I think this has jumped out to me as I was doing the research, they were missing their leading sack creator last year, who got drafted by Pittsburgh. So to me, I hear that, yes, you return a lot of starters, but when a primary edge guy is gone and they're still causing that much havoc, still being able to stop that offense in some way, there is definitely some holes within the Graham Harrell air raid offense. All right, we're going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball and get to know you. Brian, let's talk about Ryan Walters. Obviously at Illinois, he had that defense humming for a couple years. What are we taking a look at with Mr. Walters' defense?
Yeah, you're looking at a base 3-4. They will go into a nickel package. That's going to be the 3-3-5 stack, like we saw a little bit of against ODU. But their base is going to be a 3-4. We talked about it already. Odd fronts are going to be harder to run inside zone against, so we're going to get a little bit more of that this week. Hopefully we can make some adjustments and handle that a little bit better. And they will occasionally play with the alignment of their linebackers. So in particular, the guy we're about to talk about here in a little bit.
Well, and that linebacker he is talking about is Kydrain Jenkins. He is the outside linebacker, 6'1", 260 pound, out of Louisville, Georgia, at Jefferson County High School. Kydrain was a low 3-star, 84, the 135th player in the state of Georgia back in the class of 2020. And believe it or not, his only Division I offer was Purdue. A lot of G5 offers. And to tell you the truth, kind of has already hit off the bat in his first 2 seasons. Playing, obviously, you can see that playing sparingly in 26 games in his first 2 seasons, 67 total tackles, 16 tackles for loss, 9 sacks, along with a couple pass deflections and a forced fumble. And he started off good against Fresno State last week, Brian. 6 total tackles, 1 sack, an additional tackle for loss. He is, I think, you'll put it in words here, I think he is probably their best defender.
Yeah, he's a pretty elite pass rusher. He'll get after the quarterback really well. He's not overly impactful in space or in coverage. They don't deploy him in that very often. He is primarily a pass rushing edge defender. But he holds up well in backside containment in the run game, so he's not necessarily a weakness in the run game. He's just not great in space or in coverage. But his pass rush is solid across the board. They'll play with his alignment. They'll kind of send him inside, keep him on the edge, kind of mix and match him in there, depending on whether they go with that stack in the nickel or whether they're running out of the 3-4 base. So he's going to be on the field and getting after the passer regardless.
Anything on him, Shelton? Were you able to dig up?
Yeah, which one we're talking about?
We are talking about Kydrain Jenkins, the outside linebacker.
Mr. Jenkins.
No, I don't have anything on Jenkins. I will say, though, with regards to their linebacking core, their MLB OC brothers had a 40 grade from PFF last year, which was the 4th worst among all Power 5 linebackers. So when you look at the linebacking core as a whole, the defense as a whole, it was not great. They got some young players in there, some guys that turned to different programs where they didn't really excel. Obviously, as we talked about, it's a defense that's really work in progress.
All righty. Who's our next one, Tally?
We got Markevius. Markevius Brown is a cornerback out of high school. He came from IMG Academy. He was a composite 4-star that started his career at Ole Miss. He had offers from everywhere: Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, FIU. Had over 20 offers coming out of high school. Went to Ole Miss and has transferred to Purdue now. He is a 5'11", 180-pound cornerback. Last week, he had, I think, 9 tackles. He was their second leading tackler. Let me make sure I'm telling you that right, Brian. I don't want to lie to you now.
Don't lie to me, Tyler.
Don't lie to him.
He had 9 tackles last week. 1 tackle for loss behind another guy that we're going to talk about with Curtis here in just a little bit. But yes, seems to be a pretty good player. Brian, what you got on him?
Yeah, he's their best man defender. And you talked about the offers. I believe we were one of those offers in there because I remember seeing this name a few years back on our list. So has good speed. Not afraid to be a little physical. You can see that by getting a pretty good tackle count in there. But he can get caught kind of watching the action in the backfield, watching the action that kind of is moving in front of him. So sometimes that can catch him a little bit on the island, let a man get behind him. But overall, good cornerback, but definitely the best pure cover guy that they have in the secondary. And I know Sheldon has something he wants to add here as well on the stat side.
Yeah, so it was not good for him in coverage against Fresno. He was 8 for 12 when targeted for 84 yards and a touchdown. So it's kind of a small sample size for his career. He just hasn't really had as many targets as as a lot of other guys. But that's a pretty big red flag right there.
Well, that does say a lot, but 8 for 12. I mean, you take a look at the data points though. Mikey Keene went 31 for 44. Mikey Keene's Fresno's quarterback. He lit them up for right over 350 yards, 4 touchdowns, and only 1 pick. So I do think that they have more than one hole in the secondary. And one of the guys we're going to talk about next, which is Dylan Thiemann, he was the leading tackler last week at this game. He had 10 total tackles and an interception. Thiemann, if we take a look just at his background, he was a 87 for 247. He was a class of 2023. So this guy is a true freshman out there at approximately 6 feet tall, 205 pound out of Carmel, Indiana at Westfield High School. So we talk about Brown struggling. They got a true freshman playing free safety. Brian, what are you seeing from him? And I think Shelton just did it with the stats, and we're starting to hear this thing come about their back end.
Yeah, I mean, this guy covers ground well. He does a good job of getting around and flying around, making plays when he's able to kind of sit back in coverage. He does not do a good job when he's in any sort of man responsibility or having to cover in the box. Definitely a guy that just wants to be that deep free. And I think that may just be the fact that he's a true freshman. And if you put him in that deep free, he can just kind of read and react. Not a whole lot of additional responsibilities. So he excels there. What he doesn't excel at is kind of pretty much everything else. But he does tackle well. He fits up pretty good and gets guys to the ground. But it's just a little suspect in the other areas of playing safety right now.
Yeah, and on him, he had 10 tackles. I don't know if we said that. So between him and Brown, that was 19 tackles. First and second tackler on the team last week came from your secondary. One or two things: they're throwing the ball on you a lot, or your linebackers and your line are not tackling people.
Yeah, and Fresno didn't run the ball very well, so it was the former.
There you go.
So speaking of line, next guy we'll talk about is their big nose tackle. You got Cole Brevard. He is a 6'3", 333-pound or 335-pound nose guard or nose tackle. Excuse me. He is he transferred from Penn State. He had big offers from a lot of places: Florida State, Clemson, Notre Dame. He transferred there. I was looking, didn't find any stats from last week on him, so he's probably just a big gap filler. Somebody there to not let people RP up the middle like ODU was doing against us. So what you got on him, Brian?
Yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head there. And I'll say this before we get into the specifics of his game. He was one of those guys, the Penn State transfer where everybody on the timeline's like, we got to get this guy. We got to get this guy. He's a prime defensive player. We got to get this guy. He ended up
We
at
didn't get
Purdue.
him.
We didn't get him. He ended up at Purdue. He's a 2-gap nose. I mean, he's in that 3-4. Classic space eater. Good motor overall. He will get replaced by another guy named Joe Anderson when they go to their nickel set, who's more of a pass rush specialist. Really a defensive end that they kind of just slide into to be a pass rushing nose. But Cole definitely he eats space. He does a good job of kind of taking up 2 blockers on a lot of plays. So he's somebody that you got to handle. And like we said, we struggled to get to the second level. We're going to have to be better at that this week against this guy.
Sheldon, before we kind of close it out here, any additional stats, any additional data points you're seeing on the Purdue defense that we should know about that might be helpful to the Hokies going into Saturday?
Yeah, so just looking at their team in general and kind of their performance. So there's a stat called expected points added, or more commonly known as EPA. It's basically like an analytically correct version of yards per play. It just takes into account field position, down, distance, et cetera, et cetera. So EPA, Fresno State finished in the 90th percentile in EPA for games this year against Purdue. Purdue not quite as explosive offensively. They did have more yards per play, the Boilermakers did, but the reason that FSC won the game ultimately was because they had a higher success rate, especially on third down. They were 60% on third down. So that's an indication probably that they're doing well on first and second down. They're getting easy third down opportunities. I would say for those who are Virginia Tech fans who look at that result and say, "Oh well, Purdue lost to Fresno State. They must not be all that good."
Mm-hmm.
Let's hold up for a second.
Stop that.
If Virginia Tech were to play Fresno State on a neutral field tomorrow, they would be 4-point underdogs, is my guess. So that's not a game where you can really say like, yeah, we're going to beat that team. It's going to be a really close matchup. And if Tech and Purdue were to play on a neutral field tomorrow, it would be a toss-up. So It's not, you can't really read too much into that game, really.
You really can't. And Fresno State was a good team last year. So they're returning 9 guys on defense. They won 10 games last year. They won the Mountain West, right? Did I make that up, Sheldon? They won the Mountain West. Or did Boise win the Mountain West last year?
Boise did. Yes, Fresno won the Mountain West. Yeah.
They won the Mountain West last year. So, yeah, they did play a very good team. So, what are the Hokies going to have to do to win this game? I'm going to let Brian start us out here. Brian, give us one of the keys to a Hokie victory on Saturday.
Yeah, the biggest one is that we've got to settle down quicker. We can't have that 1 quarter of sleepwalking that we saw against ODU, especially on the offensive side of the ball. This needs to be more of a game like we saw with Boston College last year at home, where we kind of got out there early, made a couple plays on defense, made a couple good plays on offense, get a little bit of a lead, and then kind of put the pressure on them to have to play a little catch up. I think that's the recipe for success here.
All right. Tally, what do you think? What's a Hokie key?
Yeah, I'll say, usually I try to be a little bit more conservative, but I'm going to let your nuts hang, Let your nuts hang, Brett Pry. You have wide receivers that I don't think that they can guard. We need to pass to set up the run. Looks like we were running to set up the pass in this pass game. I think, hey, let it fly. Find those receivers early, spread them out, take a page out of ODU's book, spread it out. Don't have them so close so we can hit some of these running lanes. I think if we do that early in the first quarter, I think we'll put them in a little bit of a discomfort area fairly quickly.
Got it. Sheldon, what about you?
For me, the biggest thing is just try to shut down Deion Burks. I think he's by far their biggest playmaker. I'm not too concerned about Purdue's run game. I mean, we'll see how it all plays out. But also, you just got to get pressure on Hudson Card. I mentioned the pressure stats from their game against Fresno. The offensive line has a lot of weak points. So if you get pressure on him, Card really, really struggles throwing from pressure. If you can get to the QB, I think you'll have a really good chance of winning. And I think Tech will take advantage of a very shoddy Purdue defense.
Yep.
I like it.
I'm with Sheldon. I think you don't let Card find a rhythm. We know how air raid offenses work is when they get in the rhythm where they're popping you on lateral passes, short, quick routes. Eventually it opens up top. And make him move. Make him move. Get him uncomfortable. APR and the crew, Go out there, make it move. And you said you're not worried about their run game. Make it non-existent. Because an air raid team like this, if they get that little bit of run game going, go back to West Virginia last year. They got that run game going. It wore down us, and then they were able to start popping passes later in the game. So kind of a combination of a different number of things we are talking about for some Hokie keys. But now it is prediction time. Brian is really excited, everybody. He's been working on this all week. Bring up the big board. Not only the prediction for the Hokie game, but we also have our big screeners here.
Shelton, hey, y'all better read this week. Shit.
Y'all better read. Listen and read.
Listen and read.
Tally never
it's on the board this time, guys. It's very explicitly on the board.
That's not big.
This is
that says
against the spread.
Against the spread. Do y'all understand how many emails in DMs that I got from people? So I could not believe, even after we won, people were still talking about.
They were tagging you, man.
I can't believe you're the guy that predicted us to lose. I was like, oh my god.
Sheldon had people in his DMs over taking UVA to not lose by more than 28.
Yeah, that was fun.
And me and Brian went 4-2 last week.
I did horrible. I'm scared to even pick.
That's the fun of it. All right, Sheldon, you were not here last week, so you get to lead the Hokie Purdue predictions. What do you have?
It's going to be a close, low-scoring ball game, in my opinion. I like both teams' defenses. Well, more so, a little bit more skeptical of VC's offense. But I've got the Hokies winning 20-17. They will cover by the hair on their chins. That's just the way I feel. I think it's going to be a low-scoring grudge match, and I think Tech's going to come out on top.
All righty. Low score 2017. Tally, what you got?
I got the Hokies taking this game 35-24. I think didn't we go over 30 one time last year?
Yep.
Zero times.
Zero times.
Okay, well, the first two games of the season, we're going over 30, baby. 35-24, Hokie win. We all going to be there. Boundary Corner Podcast. As y'all can see, I don't have a hat on this week, because I wanted my hair to breathe, because I'm buying all new hats when I get to Blacksburg. So if you're watching this, y'all send me places that I can go find cool hats, because I'm going to pick up about 5 to 10 new hats.
He's getting one new one from me.
And I already know about that one.
I have not wear, huh?
I already know about that one. I'm going to have that one on. I'm going to have that one on next week.
There we go. All right, my turn next, y'all. And I'm kind of with Tally. We're similar scores here. I think the Hokies are going to win this game, and I can see this being a 34-23 game. I think we punch it in just as much as we did last week. I think Pry pulls back on being aggressive inside the 15, kicks a couple extra field goals. And to just be honest, why am I looking at a team that scored 35 and saying they're going to score 24? I watched this game with Brian right back here. I'm on the easy chair. Brian's kicked back on the couch. Effectively, Purdue had 2 sustained drives to score touchdowns. They ran a kickoff return back. They had the 84-yard bomb Tally mentioned earlier. The other 44-yard play to Burks, guess what? That set up a 10-yard run. They had 2 sustained drives for touchdowns. That's why the Hokies and the defense get it right. Brian, are you as optimistic as we are?
Yeah, I'm right on board there. I've got the Hokies pulling out a 1-score victory here. I think the offense is going to keep going. I think we're going to pivot a little bit, and as Tally mentioned, let the pass set up the run a little bit. Kind of start with the Ducks hanging out there and leaning on your strength a little bit. I think our defense does a good job of shutting down the run. I think we still do let Burks get a little bit of action done, but they're not going to quite do what they did against Fresno. I think we're a little bit better in the secondary than they are. I got a final score here of 31-24 Hokies.
31-24 Hokies. So there we go. We're all picking the Hokies. We're all on the optimistic train after the ODU game. I hope it holds to fruition.
Please.
Well, now, even though all of us are going to be in Blacksburg, we still are putting up the big screeners, because probably we're going to be catching some of these, whether we're sitting at a hotel, friends' houses, maybe the bar after the game. But we've got,
apparently that cell service, you can pick up a game in the stadium now.
Oh, is it that good now?
No. Don't get your hopes up. You can get a tweet out. You can get a tweet out now. So I guess that's better than what we've been dealing with, where you couldn't get a text out. So,
all right. Well, let's talk about our big screeners here. So the first one here is going to be Mr. Brian's selection. Brian is looking at Tulane versus Ole Miss. This is a 3:30 kick, so one we potentially could catch downtown after the Hokies play. Ole Miss currently 7.5-point favorites. What you got on this one, Brian?
Man, I just like this matchup. I think this is going to be a very intriguing matchup across the board. I like Ole Miss, but I think Tulane is going to have just enough here to make this a really tight one, a little squeaker down the stretch. So I've got Ole Miss winning, but I've got Tulane in the 7.5 there. So I'll put Tulane here on the board.
And Brian, I'm right with you on that. I think this is going to be a highly entertaining game to watch. I think both these offenses can move the ball. I do think Ole Miss sneaks it, probably 3 to 6 points, but Tulane covers. Tally, what about two schools down your way?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ole Miss is gonna go ahead and take this one. Tulane may have a cool mascot. I just don't think they're gonna have enough to win or cover.
All righty, Ole Miss there, Sheldon.
Yeah, look, Ole Miss put up 73 points against Mercer the other day. Now, I understand it's Mercer, FCS, blah, blah, blah. But I watch FCS football, so I feel somewhat qualified to say Mercer's a good team. They've got a good defense. And 73 points is 73 points. So give me Ole Miss. I'm taking the points.
By the way, one we probably should be looking at on this, go ahead and put Sheldon's up there, Ole Miss covered. The over-under is only 66.5 on this game. That just seems criminally low because Tulane last week dropped 37 in their opening game. So there's our bets, but look at the over under 66.5. I think we'll probably shoot up to 70 before game day. Yeah. All right, let's go out west. This is Tally's pick for the week. Team in his home state, Auburn versus Cal. Auburn on the road playing a 10:30 game. Tally's going to be passed out at the hotel trying to watch this. Auburn 6.5-point favorites. Tally, what you got?
Man, I was a little skeptical about Auburn going all the way across the globe over here to go play Cal, our new ACC mates over there. So I thought this was an intriguing matchup. I was very close to taking Cal, but I'm going to take Auburn in that matchup. I know a couple of guys that's down there playing in Auburn, and I got to watch them. Got to watch that game this weekend. They've got a freshman named Jeremiah Cobb. If you guys haven't seen him play, he was a 4-star out of Montgomery Catholic. My first cousin was his high school coach. He is a phenomenal athlete. I think he had maybe about 60 yards and a touchdown in this past weekend. So Jeremiah Cobb, y'all go check him out. Auburn, I think they're going to take this one.
All right, Auburn takes in cover. Sheldon, what you got on this one?
Last week, the Pac-12 went undefeated in non-conference play. Now, some people look at that stat and say, well, the Pac-12 must be back. I would look at that stat and say regression to the mean is coming. So with that being said, the analyst in me will take Auburn to give the Pac-12 a little dose of reality.
All righty. Go ahead and put mine up there, Brian. I'm with them. I know that I heard that stat too. What was it? Saturday night, Pac-12 13-0, 14-0 in play. I just, Hugh Freeze coming there. I just don't see that. I think Auburn probably gets slow. Hold on. Before I finish my statement here, King Leo, Virginia Tech. Let me put that one down. Auburn might
pretty good.
That was pretty good. Auburn might get to a slow start, but I think eventually the talent will take over, and I think they will easily cover the 6.5.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. War Eagle bitches. I think that, Cal scored a lot of points against the Mean Green out there with North Texas, but I think that, Hugh Freeze is going to have a game plan for that. I think there's going to be a pretty decently high-scoring game, but I think Auburn's going to cover in the end. So, yeah, I'm taking Auburn as well.
All righty. All right, we flip down to Waco and Shelton's big screener of the week, although it's going to be going on during the game, so we better have good cell service so Shelton can watch the game. Little screener. Utah Baylor. Utah road favorite, 7.5 points.
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup. You've got a Baylor team that just saw a blitzkrieg from Texas State the other week. They've got a hotshot offensive coordinator and head coach that put up 42 points. So they were looking for a bounce back season, haven't quite gotten it so far. And then Utah won against Florida with their backup quarterback Cam Rising still out with an injury as he's recovering from that ACL tear. That being said, I think Utah's got a really well-rounded team. They're playing at home. I'll take the Utes to start the season 2-0.
All righty, Tally, what do you got on this one?
Yeah, I watched Utah kick Florida's ass all over the field. I'm going to take Utah. I don't got no analytics. I don't got all of – Shelton made it sound cool. I'm just going to say Utah because they whooped Florida's ass.
They did whoop Florida's ass. Brian?
I'm sticking with our team here. I'm going with Utah. I think Utah is probably one of the 8 best teams in the country, especially once they get back to full strength there. I like the way that they handled Florida. I was expecting that. I picked them last week, but I was expecting a little bit of a tighter matchup. They really handled Florida pretty well. So give me the Utes.
We're in agreement again. I'm on Utah on this one as well. Lay the 7.5. I think the offense of Utah continues to roll. And to be honest, Baylor got 31 against the Texas State last week. I don't think they're seeing 15 this week. 30-17 Utah. All righty. Oh, I'm up next.
You're up next.
I'm up next. I pulled out
big screener.
The Miami versus Texas A&M, which is a 3:30 kick, which we potentially could watch before we leave Blacksburg on Saturday night, Brian.
Little dinner, little Tots rail.
Drive back 3.5 hours. Tots rail, 10:30.
I'm 10 minutes away from the field, so
you 10 minutes away from the field. Hey, Sheldon, are you driving back Saturday night, or are you staying up?
I got to drive back.
Oh, okay. You got to drive back as well. So we're all going to have that. We're going to catch dinner together. All right. Miami, Texas A&M. Miami, 4-point home dog to the Aggies. I go back to the game last year where Miami probably should have won down at Texas A&M, and they didn't. And I don't know. I just don't believe in Jimbo Fisher. I think he's one of the biggest, fakest coaches out there. Yes, I know. I'm just being for real. The guy's one of the fakest coaches out there. I don't know if Miami will win, but I think 4 is too much to lay to give to Miami. Give me Miami with the points. I have no who's clue going to actually win the game outright, though.
All right. So we got Miami up there on the board. You know what? I will shock y'all a little bit. I'm going A&M here.
Okay.
Shout out to Quan. Quan will be happy.
Yeah, I think they getting Connor Weigman in there. Good first game, 18-23, 236, 5 touchdowns. I know it was the Lobos, but it looks like the biggest thing that they had problems with last year was quarterback play. If they figured that out, then that could be a somewhat dangerous team. So give me A&M here.
All righty. Tally?
I got to go Miami, man. I just think that, the ACC, we have to prove something this year. SEC, you seen what Mac Brown did to Shane Beamer's face? That's what we're doing to all SEC opponents all year. Just letting y'all know.
The face grab heard round the world.
Face squeezing, mushing your face. Miami.
Nah, that's just what an old man does to younger kids. I mean,
turn your ass.
Sheldon, who you got in this one?
I know people are going to say I'm crazy. I think the U is back. They totally took Ohio to the woodshed last Saturday. I know it's a MAC team, but look, that was a dominant win. So I'm taking Miami. I think they're a good football team this year.
All righty.
I don't trust Jimbo either.
There you go. See, it's Jimbo. Nobody trusts him. All right. There are 2 more on the screen here. One is probably the biggest matchup in the AC with effectively the ACC this week in NC State and Notre Dame. And so for this one, Notre Dame, 7.5-point home favorite. By the way, Ole Miss or Tulane home dog, Cal home dog, Baylor home dog. We got nothing but home dogs here so far. So Shelton, no NC State, Notre Dame. Who is your pick?
Yeah, I'm taking Notre Dame, but not with the high degree of confidence. I just feel like Sam Hartman, he's a stud, man. I mean, he's just lit up Navy. I know Navy's got some issues, but that was a dominant performance. NC State, I feel like they're the team that just kind of, always falls flat in big games. So I'll take Notre Dame.
Who you got, Tally?
Yeah, I'm gonna take Notre Dame in this game as well. Just like Sheldon said, I've been watching Sam Hartman for a long time. Kid's a stud, man. I just think that I wasn't too impressed with North Carolina State last week. Again, every week's different, but I'm gonna take Notre Dame in this one.
I'm with exactly what Tally said right there. Watching NC State play UConn up in Hartford, they did not look good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I think the defense is going to be solid, but y'all just mentioned they have Sam Hartman, they have weapons, they have a better offensive line, and I think 7.5 is just enough points to take because I think this is like a 10-point game. Probably entertaining game going on while the Hokies are playing, but I can't see NC State keeping quite up with Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'll finish this one out and say I'm right there with everybody here.
We're agreeing too
and
much.
For some of the same reasons. Sam Hartman, I think, is going to be one of the Heisman finalists this year. I think he's got that level of play with the offensive line play that Notre Dame has, with the weapons that they have. I think he's going to really be in play for that trip. So give me Notre Dame. I think it's going to be about a 10-point victory for Notre Dame.
All righty. And, well, the big one is Saturday night down in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, Texas. Game day is obviously going to be there, and it is a big game. I mean, we are college football fans. We're not just sitting here and going to crap on things because that is a big game. It was a big game last year, high noon down at Texas, where that turned into a game that Texas just about got Alabama. Now, in this case, Tuscaloosa, only a 7-point favorite is Alabama, who's coming off it's technically a thrashing, but it took a while to get them going versus Middle Tennessee State. Brian, who are you taking in this game with the points?
Yeah, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. I think Texas, we saw that slow start. They don't have a dynamic player like Bijan Robinson anymore. I really think that Alabama's going to take this one over start to finish. Give me Bama. Texas, orange down, baby.
Orange down. Penalty. Unsportsmanlike conduct on Siegler, 15 yards. I'm actually right there with you, Brian. I just don't trust Texas. I don't. And it's not so much their offense. I just think they're going to be I just feel like you talk about Bijan being there last year, and remember it was still more of a 23-20 type game down in Austin last year. I just don't trust their defense. I don't. And I know, yes, they won like 37-10 last week, but who are they playing? We were talking pieces of that game. Rice? It was Rice, wasn't it?
Rice.
A.T. Daniels, sixth year, who was supposed to be a great quarterback coming out, is at Rice right now, and they got throttled by Texas. Not a big start, but give me Bama. Give me the 7. I think it'll probably be an entertaining game, but I can't see Texas winning this one or covering. Tally?
Yeah, I got Texas covering, actually, man. I don't know if they will actually win. Fuck it. I'm going to say Texas wins a close one. Alabama is a little bit, they're a little different this year. I know they've got some injuries on the back end that some of the fans have been talking about. I'm not sure of the names. If you go look them up, I'm sure you can find it. They got a couple of injuries there. They got a wide receiver that's been out that they're waiting on. I think he's got something going on with his hip. And Alabama they're always going to be a good team, but I don't think they had a star power that they usually have. They're breaking in a new quarterback, and he didn't have to do shit for real last week because they were playing Middle Tennessee State. I think just with Texas having athletes that can be on the field against them, it's going to be a little bit of a different look. So I'm gonna give it to Texas. I'm going to say Texas wins a close one.
Texas wins a close one. Sheldon, close us out with our big screener here. Brian put Tally's up.
Yeah. Hard to bet against Nick Saban. I mean, I actually think Texas was a good team last year that got really unlucky. The Alabama game was a perfect example. Like they had a few unlucky breaks. They were at home though. They had the wind at their back and lost a close game. I just can't go against Nick Saban at home. I feel like this is the type of game where Alabama's up by 7 late in the third quarter and then they end up winning by 24. That's just how I look at it. So I'll take Bama and the points.
Taking Bama and the points. So Brian says the graphic he was working with froze up there. Still good. We're agreeing on a lot of things, boys. Has anything broken since we fired Twitter or since we've been on here?
Well, for me and Brian, Christian Wood is a Laker for 2 years.
Who's Christian Wood?
Hey,
Christian Wood is a big man that played for the Mavericks, and he's going to be a good backup to bring in when we need AD to have a little rest. So all my Laker fans are pretty excited about getting him over there with the Lakers. We needed some youth.
All right. Real quick, this is not on the rundown, but I just want to get y'all's just gut opinion. Most telling story of the college football weekend, Sheldon.
You talking about this upcoming weekend?
No, last weekend.
Last weekend, just a lot of craziness. I mean, I think one thing I'd be interested to see is like, do we have a truly elite team this year? Because Georgia, they didn't always look great against UT Martin.
Right.
That's true. Bama had some struggles. I just don't know if there's like a Megatron Death Slayer, 3000 like we had like Georgia last year, or Alabama in 2020, or Clemson in 2018. I don't think you have that truly elite, championship level team. We're gonna find out soon, but I think this could be a situation where there might be a little bit more parity at the top in 2023, but we'll see.
Tally.
So I'm on hit on a couple of things, but I'm gonna try to make it quick. Number one, I think we've seen the end of Clemson's dynasty or whatever they had going on. I don't think that they will be as elite as they have been in the past, partly because their coach doesn't like to use the transfer portal. And then also, I just think that with the transfer portal and how college football NIL is today, there's stuff more spread out. You're seeing some elite talent at other places. Case in point, I'm going to bring up Colorado. I mean, Jesus Christ. Everybody's eyes was glued to that game. I think some people will put a little bit more stock into it than they probably should. But for Deion to go out there and do what he did, I think they may have won one game last year to have that much hype. He's on every commercial that I've seen. His boys was playing super hard. They're ranked now. So just the first week of college football to see Clemson go down and Colorado to win in the fashion they did, man, college football is back.
Siegler?
The death of the New Spring Church Mafia. That's what's happening this year. That's what's happening this year. We are seeing the return of Clemsoning. We are seeing the return of a team that did not adapt with the times by pure hubris by Dabo Swinney. I think we're seeing that the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit. This is going to be a rough year for the Clemson Tigers overall. I'm not saying they're going to win like 5 or 6 games, but I mean, they could easily take 3 or 4 losses this year, easily.
Please, I hope they do.
All right. Y'all had all your fun with Clemson. I'm gonna look on a little bit different. Florida State is for real. They may not be I wrote it down here. Megatron Death Slayer 3000.
Yes, that's a phrasing.
That is the phrasing. Any dominant team we're going to refer to as that. But I think what they did in the second half to LSU says a lot. LSU is a good team. And this is where, Tally, you mentioned the SEC. I swear to God, I turn on Monday morning. Well, they didn't have their starting defensive tackle. You lost by 24 points. One starting defensive tackle ain't making up 24 points. It might be a 2-score game. It ain't going to make up 24 points. So shut your stinking mouths about that. I think FSU is back. I hope, man, we are rolling going into there in week 6. I really do. Just because, you always want to stack
just
up.
Just make it look respectable, man.
Again, I don't have it. I already said that's going to be a loss.
If it's only 24 points, then
just make it look respectable.
We played as good as the number 5 team in the country.
Oh,
I want to win.
Stop.
Don't get me wrong.
Stop. Don't get him going on preseason rankings. We'll be here for another 30 minutes, and Sheldon's got an early morning meeting. So, boys, that does wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Taliban's.
And I am Shelton Moss.
Check our website out, boundarycornerbt.com. Listen to all of our episodes, newly launched merchandise shop, Boundary Corner Store, where my buddy Phil says we might have to make a Coach Price shirt because he's saying it a lot now. Complimentary football. We play complimentary football. He keeps mentioning it. So we might end up making a Brent Pry complimentary football shirt. As always, follow us Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. There are a lot of y'all out there watching it. We love you watching it. Subscribe to that channel. We also are on your favorite podcast sources, Spotify, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to those as well to automatically get them in your feed. We let our buddy Jason Long play us in, play us out. Check him out, jasonlongmusic.com, where he will link up to all of his music on Apple, his YouTube account, his Facebook account. And actually, Jason is going to be hanging out with us on Friday. We are swinging by Roanoke, picking him up, heading down into Blacksburg. We will be out on the town Friday night. Shelton's going to roll into town on Saturday. Hopefully, Shelton, you're going to hang out, have a little dinner before you kick back. We'll all be hanging out in Blacksburg all weekend. We thank you all for listening, especially these last few months. You guys have really been out there crushing those numbers, helping us out. And as always, y'all, let's go.
Hokies.
Hokies.